Hi. So as she said, my name is Lydia. I'm an engineer at Uber. I've been working here for 3 years or so now, which feels like an eternity at this company. I work on mapping, work on something that tries to get cars where they're going as quickly as we can. So sort of core to our business, something that I get to lead. I get to talk to a bunch of other engineers all day. They respect me. They get to, I get to collaborate with people. I get to work on stuff that I find interesting. Maybe come work for my team, I don't know. So that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. This story is not quite about my job though. So this story is about a series of haircuts, including this one. So, sorry, some important background for this, some just like context needed. So I am trans, which means that very simply, as I was growing up, the world treated me like a boy, even though I am a woman. It's included my parents, which is a very strained relationship. So even as a child, I knew something was up, and I had a really complicated relationship with gender. My parents were quite conservative, so I had to get haircuts regularly, right? Because boys have short hair. I hated it. There was a lot of crying at barbers, and I didn't quite understand why. I just wanted long hair. I didn't understand why I needed to do this. And in middle school, I eventually was old enough to make it more trouble than it was worth. They couldn't force me to do it anymore. And I started growing my hair out. They resorted to shaming me about it. My mother would say, "Oh, it looks terrible. You do nothing with it. You don't style it." Never mind, she never gave any effort into teaching me how to do those things. Or my father would say, "It makes you look like a girl," and it never registered with him once that didn't matter to me. Every year he'd bring it up. He's like, "You look like a girl." I don't care, dude. Or maybe I do. Maybe I really do. So when I left for college, I had a better understanding of what I was. I had words for it. I knew I was trans. And I knew that my hair was an expression of myself and my femininity. And I had grown quite fond of it. In fact, it was the only thing about my physical appearance that I really liked. So my mother helped me move into my freshman dorm. And the very last thing she did before she left, and I will never forgive her for this, is she gave me an ultimatum. Either you figure out how to support yourself, you get a job while you're taking a full course load at this kind of crazy university to feed yourself, or you could cut your hair short like she wanted me to. I was crushed. I had to choose between the one expression of self I had at my disposal, the one thing that I liked about the way I look, and in some sense, my survival, or at the very least, my future. This would have a huge impact on my future if I decided to either not go to college or work part-time and try to extend college for twice as long or something like that. It crushed me. I held it together while she was in town, but after that, I just broke down. My freshman roommate thought I was a wreck. Kind of was. So I tried growing it out again, and in a fit of self-loathing, right around the awkward middle phase of growing short hair out, I had it cut again because I was like, "Oh, I'll never look the way I want to. No one will ever see me for what I am. It's better this way if I just have a normal haircut." It was a bad decision. It was a really bad decision. Probably the worst decision I made in college. And I spent a semester as a physics major. So that last haircut was in summer of 2011. 3 years go by, and I finally decided I can't stay in the closet anymore. I stayed in the closet through all of college. I can't stay in the closet anymore. The world will even though the world will never see me as a woman, or I'll never look quite how I want, which I thought was the point at the time, because no one really, there's no guidebook on this. despite all that, I have to come out, right? Like I can't, the other option was just not one. It was going to kill me. I also moved across the country from Pittsburgh to San Francisco and started my first full-time job here in that same 2 weeks. So it was pretty intense. It's quite the experience. That was the summer of 2014. And I moved into my first apartment. And one wall was entirely mirrors. And I still hated the way I looked. I couldn't stand to see the mirror. I like, every time I stood in front of it, I would just see all these little things that I didn't like about the way I looked, all these like, this just like feeling of loathing, of like world-ending disgust. But we all make compromises living in San Francisco. So, you know, like, okay, one wall's all mirrors. It's not so bad, all things considered. I have a terrible memory, excuse me. So I lived like that for a year and a half. One wall, all mirrors, avoiding looking at myself at all costs. I refused to have photos taken of me. I wouldn't tolerate it. I couldn't stand the idea of like a permanent digital capture of how terrible I looked. It was unbearable. And it was in December of 2015 that I started flirting with the idea of getting an undercut. For those of you who aren't queer women in the room, an undercut is this deal right here, where you get your hair clipped really close, or shaved even, on one side, and the rest of it grows out long. It's like this very queer femme thing. I was super into the idea, but I was also terrified because part of my hair would be short. And that's a masculine thing, right? Like people will think something about me. I was so worried. But a few friends, who are some really good friends, honestly, egged me on. They like made me do it. And I got recommendations for the same stylist from 3 different women with amazing hair. So I knew, okay, I've got someone, right? When like the 3 people with the best hair, you know, all tell you, go to this person, you will move mountains to get a booking. Or in my case, like go to Oakland in the middle of a workday. So I got it. I got this haircut, in fact. That was my first haircut in 4 years, 4.5 years, I think. And there's this weird thing, brains are really dumb. This is like sort of an axiom of my life. But it turns out like how your hair frames your face is a large part of how you recognize faces, including your own. And so I got home to my apartment full of mirrors, and I didn't recognize the person over there. I was like, who's that? She's cute. Oh, that's me. Oh. And it something as simple as a haircut taught me a lot. It taught me about more than just my physical appearance, but also about myself and how I'd grown. That I wasn't seeing who I was. I wasn't seeing how I'd grown, how I'd changed. I wasn't seeing how I'd become the person who I wanted to be. How if I met me, I'd think I was super cool. I'd be really impressed with myself. I wasn't seeing any of that. I was just seeing what I expected to see, which was, you know, someone who's doesn't look that good in the mirror. So that's the haircut.